Hello, my dear English learners. How are you today? It's me from my English Lessons channel. I'm so happy to see you again, and I'm very excited because we have an amazing story today about a genius scientist. Before we start, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done it. Also, I'd like to thank all my subscribers for their support and love. You make me so happy. And now, let's get started. Our story is about Galileo di Vincenzo Buonaiuti di Galilei. He was born in Pisa, Italy, on February 15th, 1564, and he died on January 8th, 1642. His full name was Galileo Galilei, but we call him Galileo. Galileo was one of the most important scientists of all time. He was a mathematician, an astronomer, a physicist, and an engineer. When Galileo was a baby, his father noticed that he was a very curious baby. For example, when he was only 2 years old, he was already looking through his father's spyglass at ships on the horizon. He loved to explore and discover new things. When he was 9, he wanted to join his father's business and work with numbers and accounts. But unfortunately, his father didn't want his son to do business, so he sent him to study at a monastery in San Mateo, a minor seminary. That's why Galileo became a Franciscan friar or a monk. However, he never became a priest. Later on, he studied medicine and natural sciences, which were related to his interests, exploring and discovering new things. After Galileo left the monastery, he began to teach mathematics at the University of Pisa. When he was only 30, he was appointed to be the chair of mathematics at the University of Padua. There he met many famous scientists of that time, like the Venetian scientist Andrea S. Domcial. They became good friends and shared their ideas and research with each other. In 1609, Galileo heard that some Dutch spectacle makers had invented a telescope. Of course, he knew that he could use the telescope to look up into the sky and see things that nobody had seen before. So, he built his own telescope, which was much better than the one that he had bought. He looked at the moon, planets, star clusters, and nebulae. Then he made some incredible discoveries and observations. He saw craters, mountains, and valleys on the moon. He also discovered 4 satellites of Jupiter and rings of Saturn. He studied sunspots and the phases of Venus. Galileo published his discoveries in a book called Sidereus Nuncius, The Starry Messenger, in 1610. After reading his book, many scientists in Europe accepted the heliocentric theory, which said that the Earth and other planets revolved around the sun. Before Galileo's discoveries, most European astronomers thought that the Earth was the center of the universe and everything revolved around it. This idea was called the geocentric theory. But after seeing Venus's phases and Jupiter's satellites, they realized that this idea couldn't be true. In 1612, Galileo began to have problems with the Catholic Church. At that time, the Church believed that the earth was created by God and that everything revolved around it. They didn't like Galileo's discoveries and theories because they went against what the Church taught. In 1616, the Church officially rejected Galileo's discoveries and theories. In 1633, Galileo was summoned to Rome to stand trial for heresy. Heresy is a very serious charge in the eyes of the Church. Galileo was found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment. He spent the last 9 years of his life at his home near Florence under the surveillance of the police. Although he was not allowed to publish any new works, he continued to make scientific discoveries and observations. He studied motion, weight, balance, and resistance. He conducted experiments with inclined planes and pendulums. He also built a thermoscope, which is a device used to measure temperature. In 1638, he published his masterpiece dialogue concerning the two chief world systems, in which he supported the heliocentric theory. The book was placed on the list of prohibited books by the Catholic Church. Despite these adversities, Galileo remained a devout Catholic all his life. He never abandoned his faith or denied what he had written. He died on January 8, 1642, at the age of 77. Now, I'll tell you some interesting facts about Galileo. First, he was one of the first people who used the scientific method to investigate nature. The scientific method is a way of solving problems and answering questions by observing, experimenting, and drawing conclusions. Second, he was also one of the first people who used mathematics to describe nature. He used geometry and algebra to analyze motion and forces. He also used trigonometry to measure angles and distances. Third, he was the first person who used a telescope to observe the heavens. With his telescope, he was able to see things that were much farther away and much smaller than what was possible with the naked eye. He was able to see the moons of Jupiter, the rings of Saturn, and the phases of Venus. These observations helped to prove the heliocentric theory, which says that the Earth and other planets revolve around the sun. Fourth, Galileo was a very prolific writer. He wrote many books and articles about his discoveries and theories. Some of his works include The Starry Messenger, Dialogue concerning the two chief world systems, and discourses and mathematical demonstrations relating to two new sciences. His writings inspired many other scientists and thinkers. Now, I'd like to say a few words about Galileo's legacy. Galileo was one of the most important scientists of all time. His discoveries and theories revolutionized our understanding of the universe. He showed us that the Earth is not the center of the universe, and that there are other planets that revolve around the sun. He also showed us that we can use mathematics to describe nature, and that we can use the scientific method to investigate nature. Galileo was a genius, and he changed the world with his discoveries. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do it now. I would love to have you in my English learning community. And if you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them below. I always appreciate your feedback. And if you want to help me improve my videos, you can become a member. The link is provided below. Thank you very much. See you next time.